Teppen Laughing Till You Cry is a story that follows 5 groups of comedy trios, like stand-up comedy trios, which is, I think, pretty common in Japan, particularly duos for stand-up comedy. Trios are also a thing, I think. But in the West, we're a lot more used to solo stand-up comedians, which is not as common. All right, so we follow these 5 trios, and they're all in a contest to become the funniest young trio, female trio, because they're all teenage girls. The youngest female, the best young female trio in Japan. Alright, but the show doesn't focus too much on the contest itself, and more about just, random funny stuff that happens when 15 comedian teenage girls are in a dorm together. There's comedic situations for episodes that range from, there's a documentary crew now and they're filming us. One of the characters gets stuck in like a Groundhog Day-esque loop. One of the characters is just a space alien. Most of the funniest jokes in this show do not come from the characters giving stand-up comedy. It's more from, like, it might start with the characters doing stand-up and saying, this is a story that happened, and then it just shows us the story unfolding and not our characters giving the stand-up joke of that. So a lot of the jokes aren't really from stand-up, they're just from the characters going about their daily lives. You might wonder what, like, stand-up comedy between more than one person is like, and it's basically just people having a conversation, which is interesting because in a solo stand-up comedy thing, there's a big thing with the audience. Like the guy has to work a lot with the audience and react to that a bit. And when a solo stand-up comedian is telling a story, they are like playing characters, multiple characters, and those characters can interact with each other. I was at the mall and the guy was there and he was like, blah, 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 blah. But if you have multiple people on stage, there can be a guy going blah, 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 and the other people can react to them doing that. The other comedians can react to that. I couldn't tell you the exact reasons why, but I don't really super enjoy the stand-up comedy that involves multiple people more than I enjoy stand-up comedy that involves singular people. I could just have a sample bias though. Like, my only exposure to multiple person stand-up comedy is like one Abbott and Costello thing that was really good called Who's on First, right? And then everything else has been like Japanese stuff, which probably is more culturally biased. Right, like I'm probably not getting a ton of stand-up jokes because I just have a different culture. So maybe I just think the stuff's not that good, but it's just not meant for me. It's all very interesting. This show was pretty funny. I had some very loud laughs. But there's also a bunch of, I just didn't find a lot of we did see bits and pieces of stand-up comedy from these girls. And they weren't that funny. I think that's just because I don't vibe with that style of stand-up. But I had some really hard laughs that came from, there's some slapstick there, but there's some really clever writing in some of these episodes. Some episodes are better than others. The Groundhog Day one was interesting, but it was like way too long. Like it felt like the whole thing was trying to be a stand-up comedy routine of trio, and I don't think, just because I'm not a big fan of the trio stand-up comedy, I just didn't vibe with it. Some episodes will revolve around one trio or a couple of the trios. It doesn't, like, the covers you'll see of the show make it seem like the main characters are this particular trio and that everyone else is just a supporting cast member, but it really doesn't feel like that. It feels like everyone is just sharing screen time. This show is probably a 6 or 7 out of 10. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and just say 7 out of 10 for this show. It's pretty funny. That being said, I don't know if the comedy's for everyone. I feel like the show's gonna be hit or miss for some people. The laughs for me were sparse, but when they hit, they really... Yeah, that's all I really gotta say about this show. See ya.